once, right? Everything else is good. Yes, that's all right. So there pretty much wasn't a lot of engineering required. But what I am going to show you is probably the stuff you would need to know, or the way that you need to talk to engineers so that you can actually get work done. So this is what it is. It's not an engineering degree, it's a 5-minute university engineering degree. All right, so that's what this is. All right. All right, so basic engineering concepts, setting the stage, talk concepts. Basically, you need to know to interface with engineers. So again, designers often, you're working in a product development process, you work at the very beginning of the process. You work with marketing, product planning, purchasing, business office. You define what the product is, you draw it, you sculpt it. You then usually throw it to engineers and they have to actually build it, right? So you have a beautiful appearance model, they have to make all the screws work, right? And so that's why oftentimes there's tension, right? You're like, you gave me something, Johnny, you gave me a foam that's 2 millimeters thick. And then Bob Mansfield, the hardware engineer, which is called product design at Apple, goes, I have to make 2 millimeters worth of room to put screws in, right? That kind of thing. So usually if they work together, it's actually a lot easier and it's more collaborative. So in good companies, they'll bring engineering in more often and earlier. But in bad companies, they just throw the wall, they call it over-the-wall design. You'll design something, and you'll just throw it over the wall and let the engineers deal with it. And the engineers then take all of your cool ideas and totally crap on it, right? Because then they go, well, I don't want that rounded. I can make a square a lot easier. And they just make it square, right? Because you're not there. You're not there. So that's usually where the concept car looks awesome and the production car looks like crud because they don't bother talking to each other. Right? So you see an awesome concept car, and when it rolls off the production line, the headlights are different, the taillights are different, the door cuts are different, everything's different than the concept car because there's no communication between design and engineering. Which is why it's really important for designers to understand where engineers come from as well as what they use to create. They themselves are creative, right? But they're creative in an inside the product kind of way. So it's important to understand and respect that. So basically, engineers learn this too, just like you guys do, right? Materials and processing. Your sophomore class, you'll probably take John Leffler or somebody else. It'll be a materials class. And you're gonna get all heavy up into the materials. Now, designers usually look at the materials for the emotive characteristics. Engineers look at the materials for the structural characteristics. So understand there's a little bit of a difference. So when we look at like, when you're doing like your mood boards in here, you're picking out, like, ooh, this felt feels textural. This steel feels slick. Technical. It's a feeling. An engineer will look at the material and go, that's strong or not. That's flexible or not. Based on this value, this number. So understand that there's going to be a little bit of a difference there. But you both learn a lot about materials and how to make materials work for you. So I'll run through these really fast because we only want to try to get this done in an hour. Plastics. Again, you will take the whole materials class sophomore year. Understand that plastics are called, there are differences between thermoplastics and thermosets, and this is now engineering land, okay? Thermoplastic means that whenever you heat up a plastic beyond a certain temperature, it becomes liquid. But once it cools, it becomes solid, right? And you can heat it up and cool it down as many times as you want, and the plastic will always become liquid. A thermoset, once you heat it up, it's done. Most engineering plastics are called thermoplastics, okay? So those things would be ABS, polyethylene, polypropylene, polycarbonate. All of those that go into an injection molding machine are thermoplastics. They're called engineering plastics. So an injection, everybody know what an injection mold is? I told you it's the bucket of sand thing, remember? Yeah?
Does that plastic lose properties as you heat? No. That's why like as many times.
Yeah.
So is vacuum forming like the styrene? Is that also?
That's so the vacuum forming. We're going to talk about that. It's not. It is a plastic. That's a thermoset.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a thermoset. You can't reheat it and restretch it. So vacuum forming and sag forming, you just play with the vacuum former downstairs. Take any kind of sheet of plastic and suck it down to the platen, to the floor, right? It makes that casing. Injection mold is two pieces of metal coming together. So again, if we do that really quick, I'm gonna break my machine. Now you're gonna break it. So a vacuum form, you put plastic on top, and there are holes drilled in here. So when the plastic stretches down, it gets stretched over whatever object it is, and it gets pulled into this material. That's a vacuum form, right? An injection mold two pieces of metal with usually pins in it. So these two pieces of metal come down like this, and it forms this cavity, right? There's the cavity. And then basically an injector of plastic, there's a hopper over here with plastic pellets, and it goes through a screw and gets heated up, turns into a liquid, it squirts into this cavity. They crack open the cavity, and that's how you have an injection molded piece. Okay? So most things that are mass produced are injection molded. A lot of plastic pieces are injection molded, right? Yeah. Now, some things are blow molded. Blow molded, you take that same piece of plastic, it's kind of like blowing glass, right? Same piece of plastic on an end of a nozzle. Now you've got that same piece of metal, right? It comes in. It closes in. Then they blow it up like a balloon. So that plastic gets blown up, and the air pressure pushes it out against this mold. And you just crack open the mold. That's how they make this. You'll see the line right down the middle. So two plastic pieces come in, a straw comes in, you're blowing bubbles, blows a bubble of plastic, and with the pressure forces it against the metal. Then they crack open the metal, there's your bottle.
So do they like predetermine how much air is pumped into that shape
Yes.
first? Okay, so it's not like they don't have to have a release until it's set.
Yes. Yes. So I'm just telling you the I'm telling you the 5-minute version. The 4-year version is gauging the amount of PSI required for the stress and strain of the material. But as long as you know what it is, that's all you need to know, right? You don't need to actually calculate it, right? That's what the manufacturing engineer does. They calculate the pressure required to force it into the plastic mold. Right? But that's what blow molding is. Rotational molding is similar, except they rotate. They take this thing and they just spin it, and it forces it out. That's rotational molding. That's how they make play school gym equipment. Like those little yellow slides everywhere. Those are all roto-molded or blow-molded. Things you used to play on, right? Yellow, blue, red slides. Stop calling. Yellow, blue, and red slides, right? So those are what those are. They're blow-molded or roto-molded. Now, Oh yeah, the big little, those, yeah. And the reason why is blow molds and rotational molds, you make less of something. Injection molds, $13,000 to $20,000 for the piece of metal. But you can also make, like 10,000 of them, right? Rotational blow molded, if you want to make less than 10,000 of them, rotational blow molded are better. Now, these things, they make tons of them. They just blow mold them really, really fast, right? Okay, so that's that. Composites, layup processes. So if you look at this, right? So this, vacuum form, fiberglass layup, okay? You take sheets of woven fabric. It's called a composite because it uses more than one material. That's why it's a composite. It's composited. So a lot of things can be a composite, right? If you think of layers of like plywood, it's a composite wood. You have different layers of strips of wood that are being glued together, right? So fiberglass layup is just different layers of fiberglass, any fabric. Carbon fiber is the same. And then a layer of glue with a new layer, and that's laid up. I'll show you, I don't have my chair with me, but I have one where I made a 12-layer carbon fiber chair. It's not easy, but I vacuum formed against a wooden model of the chair, and then laid fiberglass into the plastic that was made from the vacuum form. So 3 steps. Make the wooden chair, vacuum form against it, pop the mold out, drop fiberglass into it. Or in my case, carbon fiber.
What do you mean drop it into it?
So I have a picture of it somewhere. I'll have to pull it up. Okay, so what I did was, if you take a piece of, I think I sag formed this thing, right? So one way you could do it is like, let's say you vacuum form this, let's say you 3D scanned your face, right? So you have your head. Oh, the ghost, right?
It's a ghost.
And then you vacuum formed against it. Put the plastic on top, sucked it down, popped it out, now you have a mask. Flip the mask upside down. Now your eyes go into that goes into the surface, right? Put the fiberglass into it, you drop it into it, and you take a squeegee, right? So you wet the squeegee with resin, epoxy, basically. So part A, part B, epoxy. It's glue, right? And you squeegee the epoxy into the fiberglass, into the mold. Now usually what you do is you spray the mold with something called release first, which is like wax. And you put it in there, and then usually what it is fabric has a weave to it, and you want to go successively changing the different ways of the weave. So 12 layers of carbon fiber later, I have carbon fiber about this thick. So I made a chair out of it, right? So you can do that. So that's what I did. I can show you pictures later, but that's what that is. So that's what's called a layup process. They make race cars this way, boats this way, right? Any lightweight type of thing that needs to be strong but also fast tends to be composite layup. Fiberglass is way cheaper than carbon fiber. A lot of the BMW i3, i8s are all carbon fiber layups. They're done in a production way though. They're not done by hand, right? But this is a hand done. You can see this person painting glue into the fiberglass bits. Now you can go to a store and just get fiberglass woven, like sheets of fabric. You do not need to get loose fiberglass like glass fibers. But this is literally fiberglass. It's not sheets of fiberglass. You can just use sheets. So if you want a strong, lightweight thing, think like the fender of a Corvette, that's fiberglass layup. So that's that. Casting metals. So with plastics, right, we can melt plastics and force them into metal tools. But with metals, you can't melt metal and put it into metal if it's the same metal. That's not going to work. So how do you make metal stuff? Well, the metal tool, plastic melts at a lower temperature than metal does, so that's why you can do injection mold. But if you're using metal, you need to find something that melts at a higher temperature than metal to cast out of it, to make a mold out of it. So what do we use?
Higher melting point metal.
Either higher melting point metal, which is tricky, but it can be done for things like silver or gold. But what do you use? What has a higher melting temperature than metal? Ceramics. Sand. So you want to know how engine blocks are made? And granted, truthfully be told, they actually don't teach this in engineering school. I'm just going off on a side tangent. Right? All right, here we go. Let's play in the sand. I'm going to make a giant sandbox. Sandbox. Now, I'm going to make a trapezoid of sand. That looks like this, like a giant trapezoid of sand. Now I'm going to take sand buckets. Literally just sand buckets, right? So I got my bucket of sand. There it is. I'm just going to go smack, 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 and just going to smack it on the side of the trapezoid. I'm going to put one sand bucket here, another sand bucket here, another sand bucket here, and the same on this side. You're in a sandbox. You pour liquid metal into this. What do you get? Francis already gave it away. What do you get out of that? You get a V6 engine. That's the positive shape, which is the sand. When you pour metal into it, what's the negative shape? Flip it upside down. You poured metal into this. When you pour the metal and it cools, you break open the sides of the sandbox. Your shape, if I flip this over, you're going to get something that looks like this. Do you see it? And these are holes. That's a cast block for an engine. The negative shape of this positive sand is the metal engine. How do they get the sand out? They just shake the hell out of it. It's called a shaker. If you go to a Cleveland casting plant, you call it Cleveland casting plant. When the metal cools, this sand has like a little wax in it. It's like a little resin in it. So it's sticky, right? It's not just water. Like water can make a sandcastle, but they put like little waxy stuff in it. So when they melt it and pack it into the bucket, and they pull the bucket out, they have these shapes. And then when we put them in there, the wax holds it just enough. Once they pour the metal in, right? The wax melts, the sand gets loose, but it's still inside it. Once the metal cools, they just shake the heck out of it and the sand falls out.
How like accurate is this shape?
Pretty, well, let's talk about that.
But yeah,
How accurate is a grain of sand? How big is it?
Very small.
Pretty tiny. But it's not, it's,
Still
but you can still see it, right? You can still see the grain. Anybody go to Bed Bath & Beyond and look at a cast iron skillet? I have. Connie, do you see the sand pattern in the cast iron?
I do see the sand.
That's how they do it. That's how you make cast iron cookware. That's why it has grain. That's called sand cast.
What is the sand? Like it looks like sand? Like are you telling me
It is sand.
sand?
It is sand. Fancy sand, but sand.
wait, so
Yeah.
does the sand not leave a texture of the metal? But
It does.
They polish it.
It does. It does leave the picture. Now, what will happen, right, is there's something called post-processing. So this is the raw cast. Now again, it depends on what it is. Cast iron is heavy as anything.
Yes, it is.
So 1980s F-150 had a cast iron engine block, which would of course make it super unfuel efficient, right? But super strong. Yeah. Now they have cast aluminum blocks. Those are racing engines. And now it's a lot lighter, but you still see the sand texture. If you go crack open your car, look deep, deep down, and feel underneath, you will see the sand texture.
Is there a way to remove the texture?
Yeah, what we call post-processing. So let's say like this surface usually has a cylinder head on it, right? And then the spark plugs go inside, right? And then you see the wires, right? So what they usually do is they come in with a CNC router, and they this. Y'all know what a CNC? Y'all know what a mill is? They mill it. They just mill the face. So they just cut the parts they want smooth, and they leave the sand. Because yeah, really hardcore racer people will actually sand it all the way back down to smooth. Why? They want that extra texture, is extra weight. So they bring it all the way down to smooth because it doesn't do anything. It's just surface.
I like how it's
That's called what hot rodders we watch Chip Boost, they call porting and polishing the engine. They polish the engine to get the material. And you'll see it, like you open up a hot rod custom truck, custom car, Chip Boost stuff, like the engine gleams. Why? It's been polished. But most people, if you're making 100,000 Ford Explorers a year, you don't care. Nobody's like, oh wow, you polished my engine? Nobody cares. Very few people actually open up their engine. Like most people don't even change their own oil. Right? So that's sand casting. You can see the sand texture. Let's go reverse on that. As Francis said, you can see the sand. What's finer than sand?
water.
But still a ceramic.
Clay.
Glass.
Clay, keep going, yeah? Plaster.
Glass.
Plaster. Plaster's a ceramic.
I know it.
Porcelain.
Sculpture
Porcelain.
stuff.
So plaster and porcelain are in the same family.
Isn't porcelain very breakable?
Yeah. Ceramic in general and glass is very brittle. The idea is, and we'll talk about this later, if I can get back to this. Come on, turn back on.
Oh my god.
Come on, let's go. Yay, go, get back. All right, here we go. So, casting, that was sand casting. What if I don't want to see the sand? Well, you use plaster. This is called investment casting. Now, here's the issue with that. Sand casting, you can use the sand over and over and over again. You shake the sand out, you bring it back to the bin, you make more sand castles, you make more engines. What if I don't want to see the grain of the sand? Well, I can use plaster, right? Ceramic, basically crushed up porcelain.
But then you gotta crush it.
Say again?
Don't you have to like break it then to like get it out?
Well, I'll show you. This is what we call an investment casting. So I'm going to make something, right? Imagine that same tree structure, right? I'm going to instead of sand, I'm going to use wax, and I'm going to make a little tree out of it. All right. Now, what's going to happen with wax? This is also called lost wax process, which is also called investment casting. I'm going to make this little shape like this. I'm going to stick it to this tree. This is how we make aerospace products. So you're making high-end space shuttle parts out of magnesium. This is investment casting, or slurry cast. I'm going to make this little cone shape. We call it a tree. Okay? Now I'm going to flip it upside down. Put it into like a little metal barrel with holes in it, like it's like a sleeve with holes in it. So now this tree hangs upside down, like so. Those little shapes are like that. And I'm going to pour plaster into it. Then I'm going to put it into an oven and melt the wax out. The wax gets melted and gets absorbed by the plaster. Then I pour metal into this negative shape. So now it's positive, negative, positive, back to positive. It's not sand now. Sand is just positive, negative. This is positive, negative, plaster. Pour the metal in because the wax has been burnt out. And then you've got the metal. Now you've got metal inside of plaster. Once it cools, what happens? Dump it in water. You dump it in water, plaster not dissolves, but what it does is it breaks apart and it goes to the bottom of the water. And now all you have is metal left. However, you can't reuse the plaster's set. That's called investment or lost wax casting. What do we make out of these things? It's metal. What's this? All right, keep going, think.
Lamp.
Could be. What if I just take this part and I add a diamond to it?
Okay.
That's how all jewelry is made. If you want to get a Tiffany ring, it's all investment cast. You are using gold. You won't get the fine grain.
He went to Jared.
So if you make jewelry, here's the deal. Why is jewelry so expensive? Besides the fact that you're using gold, silver, those types of metals in this metal. You lose every part of the process, and if you mass produce it, you're losing every part of the process. You're not reusing any of what engineers call tooling. Tooling is the stuff you need to use to make the stuff. And so that would be your tree, your cylinder, your plaster. You lose every aspect of your tooling. And that's why investment cast is expensive. Every time. But so what you do is you make a mold to make wax models. So you make a silicone mold to pour wax into. So you always have more wax. You still use all the wax, but you have a consistent mold for the wax tree.
So mass produce the wax.
Correct. To go through this
Is
process.
the wax disposed every time? Like you
It melts into the plaster. It just becomes part of the plaster. It's just basically just evaporates out.
melts away, so you need new wax every single time.
That's correct. That's why it's called investment casting. You lose every single piece in the investment. That's why it's so expensive. High-end jewelry is all made in an investment way. And all the metals tend to be precious metals because those are a lower melting temp.
But now they can make 3D printed ones.
Yeah, now you can do shapeways. But here's the deal. Look at your shapeways ring.
They're not smooth.
Do you want, yeah. And then, all right, be careful with this.
I will not.
I will not.
Oh, is that why they always like?
Look how smooth it is. Do you see any
Some
lines? No, because that's plaster.
But there's some rings that also have like the stuff in the inner part.
Yeah,
of
look.
the
If you
ring.
look at the texture on the inside of the band,
It's really smooth.
it's smooth because that's the plaster,
I can see myself on it. It's pretty nice.
right? So, anywho, yeah. I mean, I designed my wife's engagement ring, right? I worked with the Tiffany designer. Right? Yeah, I was like, do you like this one? I drew 12 drawings from like super crazy. Like, here's a diamond with 3 sets. Here's one with sapphires on it. She's like, no. Like that one. Okay, cool. And then I worked with the
Wait,
Tiffany
will you
designer.
just show us the picture?
First and then you can pick it, or did you like say like
I gave her a-
whatever rings you want?
This is not part of the lecture, but
This is a parody.
but I brought her to London and I gave her a promise ring. So, right? So I flew her to London and I gave her a promise, like, this is a promise. We're gonna get married in a year. I'm gonna design your ring for this whole year. And then I went through that process. So, let's move on. Right? And I literally went through 12 to 20, like
Wait,
12
so where
designs.
did you get to like manufacture?
Huh?
Where did you get to like manufacture?
One of my friends from Stanford runs a jewelry design. So I took jewelry design from her.
Do you have a picture of it?
Yeah, I got a picture of it. Somewhere now.
Anyway,
Anyway, let's move on. So, here's the deal, right? Composites, we just talked about this. Composites are, you use composites because you want a mixture of materials. Right? Glass is brittle breaks easy, but it's super hard. Like you can't actually dent porcelain. You can't put your finger into it and make a dent out of it. With gold, if you really push really hard with something sharp, you can actually make an indentation. So gold, on the other hand, is pretty flexible, but stiff, right? Enough, compared to glass. Now look at plastic. Plastic's even weaker compared to metal. So now the question is, when you composite materials, you're trying to get the best elements. The more brittle something is, the harder it is. But the softer something is, the more flexible it is, things like rubber versus glass. So how can you get the best properties of both? Material scientists and material engineers are often looking at these things to try to composite materials together to get the best properties of both sides. Metals are just mixtures of different metals. Metals, even within their own family, have the same thing. Gold is soft and ductile, and so is copper. Hardened steel is not. So you'll see composite metals, and these are called alloys. Easy one to know is like, think about different kind of, what's stainless steel? It's an alloy of metals. Do you know what it is?
I want to say aluminum, but I'm probably wrong.
Does anybody know?
Steel and something.
Oh, you're looking up right now, right?
Iron and carbon.
Iron and carbon is steel, right? So iron plus a little bit of carbon is types of steel. Now the amount of carbon determines the property of the steel. You can have high carbon steel or low carbon steel. Low carbon steel, flexy. High carbon steel, brittle. What do you think? Stainless steel is steel, obviously. A little bit of chromium, zinc, and nickel. So 3 more metals, and like less than 4% total of that stuff makes steel rust-proof, which is stainless. Think about your bike frames. Do you know what kind of steel that is? What do they call it? Chromoly. Oh, of course Justin would know. Thank you, Justin. Chromoly. Do you know what that is? Chrome, chromium, and molybdenum. They add 2 more metals, and they get chromoly bike steel. So that's called alloy. Now, you know how to make a samurai sword?
Amazon.
Anybody know, like if you all have blacksmith skills, right? This is a jewelry technique too. If you go Google this up, and I'll let you look it up, type in Mokame Gane. It's a samurai sword making technique. Mokame Gane. Right? It actually means like natural wood grain. You'll see jewelry, samurai swords. If you go to Best Buy, not Best Buy, Bed Bath & Beyond, and get the shun or Japanese kitchen knife, you'll see it. Here's what you do. You take, like, you're on your giant anvil in the blacksmith shop. You take a piece of some kind of metal, and jewelry technique is like gold with another kind of metal that's precious, like rose gold or silver. So then you put another piece of metal on top of it, and with your giant hammer, you smack them flat. So those 2 pieces are like that. Then you take that composite of metal, which is now bar, right, bimetallic strip, and you fold it over on itself. So you fold it back, now it's 4 pieces. And then you flatten it out, and you fold it again. Now it's 8 pieces. And you fold it again, 16, and you fold it again, 32, blah, 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 blah. And then you hammer the heck out of it so it's really, really thin. And then you then begin cutting the shape of the sword. Here's the fun thing about how you can do that. Here's the fun thing about when you do that. When you do this, when you hammer something, you push the metal towards the glass end. It's called work hardening. When you hammer metal, it gets stronger but more brittle. It's harder but more brittle. If you heat it, like you put it into the fire, you soften it again. That's called annealing. So you can actually play with the mixture of the metals that way. So as you fold these metals over and over and over again, now you get these qualities of both metals. And if you play both with, like when they hammer it, hardening, it's called work hardening. And they douse it into the fire, like they put it in the bucket and it cools. Then they shove it back in the fire, and that makes it supple again. So that's why you can see samurai swords that are just like in a certain direction, they'll cut like nobody's business. But if you push it this way, they'll bend. That's how they play with the material. Now, the Mokame Gane is a jewelry technique. If I fold this metal up and I hammer this smooth, I get a piece like this, really thin, where this is like, 2 millimeters, with 12 layers alternating between silver and gold, or gold and rose gold. Now, if I take a ball peen hammer, right, a hammer with a round, instead of a square, a cylinder head on it, a ball peen hammer is just a ball on the edge of it, and I make a giant indention, I'm going to make a divot in this material like this. And if I flip it over, I've got a hill, right? I got a hill. If I sand that away, I'm going to show wood grain in metal. Think about it, the rings of a tree. If I sand this down back to smooth, I'm going to have alternating patterns of silver and gold. So if you look that up in Google, you'll see jewelry made that way. It's Mokume Gane technique. So again, that's called composite metal alloys. All right. And I gotta make sure I don't get too sidetracked on this, otherwise I'm gonna be doing this all day. So that's metal processing, alloys, stamping, forging, whack, 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 whack. Welding. Welding, you go downstairs and you melt metal to join two pieces of metal. And you can practice it because we have welding machines downstairs. Okay. Wood. Everybody know the difference between hard and soft wood?
What is that? Balsa wood is.
Do you know how you can tell? A, we know wood comes from trees, thank you, yes.
You can dent it. You can fingernail when you go to home.
So there's actually, Andrew, do you have the, is there?
Hardwoods lose their leaves.
Yeah, so, yeah. So hard versus soft wood, if the leaf of the wood is a needle, like a pine tree, or a fir tree, or a Christmas tree, that's a soft wood. So they're also called evergreens, right? Because they don't lose their leaves. A maple tree, a walnut tree, they all shed their leaves in the winter. And those are all hardwoods. So that's how you can tell the difference. If the tree is a needle, has needle leaves, it's a soft wood. Here's the thing, which one do you think is more expensive? Hardwoods. Nice try though, good guess. Pine is like it's the cheapest of woods. So I always laugh when I go to IKEA, it's like genuine pine furniture. I'm like, yeah, great. So is my 2x4, right? So is my 2x4 that is the inside of my house, right? But a walnut tree or a mahogany tree, right? Those things are hardwoods. And they're denser, stronger, and obviously much more expensive. Pine is like the rock gut of woods. Like, they're like a lower grade of wood than pine is like MDF. What's MDF, by the way? That's called composite wood. What is it?
It's like a bunch of wood glued together.
Yeah, it's sawdust with glue pressed together. They Play-Doh Fun Factory that. They put like sawdust